Well, everything should be working fine now. I've got here. You distract them. Xiao Long Bao. Yes, stay there for a moment. Oh, yes. Everything seems to be working fine. We've got the microphones and the sounds and all that. Everything seems to be in order. The music was working earlier, I take it. Well, it seems that everything is going so far for this portion of the show in 2018. It is the first show that I will be doing in 2018, which means that I want to make sure that everything goes according to plan, which includes, well, my trusty assistant Xiaolong Bao here, making sure that everyone is behaving on the stream, of course. Yeah. I shall just have to, well, just a few things on my end afterwards, but it seems we are all ready to go. Thank you very much, Xiaolong Bao. Say hello to the crowd. Hello, yes, this is Xiaolong Bao, for those that have not met my trusty Bao with a pet over here. Yes, Xiaolong Bao's a good Bao. Now go away. Anyhow. Well, it is finally, once again, a new year, as many of you have been surviving through so as far as I know. But, well, we've had quite a few scares for 2018 so far. Thankfully, nothing too permanent, really. I seem to have a little something stuck in my throat. Please give me a moment, ladies and gentlemen. I spoke too soon. I already had a furball in my mouth at the beginning of the stream. So there you go. 2018 is off to, once again, yet another rocky start. It seems that 2017, just like 2016, carried over its curse in positively making our year that much worse. But I digress, especially because it seems that at least everything else seems to be working now. I've got my camera set up, I've got the microphone working, making all the noises. Yes, I have the microphone over here, the big Bad Dragon dildo microphone, as many of you may know, but I shall leave that over there, and I promise not to smack the microphone too much as to make you all deaf and whatnot. Well, I think we are all ready to go. So, ladies and gentle furs and creatures of all sorts, including hybrids and whatnot, I welcome you to my very first Grumpy stream of the new year in 2018. Although I must clarify, when I say the new year, I don't necessarily mean the new year for all of us, in particular for us celestial dragons such as my brother and myself. Our new year actually comes in the next month, in February. We have our Celestial New Year, otherwise known as Chinese New Year to many of our fellow Celestials. And that is when our New Year is, and I shall hopefully be doing a stream during that season as well. But, yes, we are... once again, I've got something on my nose. It made my nose very itchy. But, yes, once again, we are in 2018, and so far the first 3 weeks have been, passable so far, I will say. Not really too much has been happening in Old Dragon's End, and thankfully nothing rightfully so, but it seems that many things have been happening with the world lately, and, well, it seems we can never escape the chaos that seems to befall humans, and I'm stuck in this mortal realm now, so now I have to be part of that group as well and somehow tolerate it. That's why the good celestial lord above us gave us something called wine, so that we may tolerate it. But my particular wine of choice, which is sake, well, one of the things that these humans like to do is they like to come up with New Year's resolutions, and well, they resolve to do things such as, oh, this year I shall be more productive, and oh, well, this year I shall be a better person unto others and whatnot, and all sorts of feel good and yay happy, look at me, I am good person sort of things. And well, my human pet, as intolerable as he is, well, not exactly my human pet, rather actually I've got my pet over here. This is Ronnie, everyone. Say hello to Ronnie. Yes, hello Ronnie. Yes, you are a very good pet. Good pet you are. Now go away. Anyhow, he was suggesting me that in the new year I cut back on my consumption of my favorite pastime, which of course is sake, for those of you that do not know. But I was, of course, absolutely livid with the suggestion. Just the thought that crossed his mind. How dare he think that a celestial dragon like me not partake in what makes a celestial dragon not destroy cities and whatnot. That is essentially a leash in a bottle, because when I have my bottle of sake, it's all like, oh yes, look at this bottle of sake, and not, oh yes, look at this city, and I shall destroy the city now. But he did also remind me that, unfortunately, because of how much I partake in, I have seemed to have turned more into a bow versus a long. See, longs, for those of you that don't know, are more shaped such as my whiskers are. They're very slim, they're very elegant, they like to snake and noodle around like this and whatnot. You may not do that with my whisker, by the way. What I just did there, only I may do. You may not do that yourself. But back to the point. So longs are very slim, very slender, very sleek, very, very lithe, and well, it seems that in my old age, as well as my feebleness, and not really getting out of the house much, especially in the cold weather out there, I seem to have turned more into a bow, and this was not just echoed by my dragon pet. This was also told to me by various others, such as of course, what do I want to call him? I resolved to be nicer to him this year. Okay, well, my fellow wine connoisseur, I shall call him Uncle Kage, of course. I cannot believe I resolved to be nicer. These resolutions are difficult. But he had also told me that it seems that I was developing a little bit of a bow shape, of course, and then my big brother, of course, who is in the chat somewhere here, Tien Long, he was also saying that his little brother was sort of bow, and, well, you see, it sort of keeps piling on and on and on, and more bows are heard all over the place, and every single time I hear my name and bow in the same sentence or phrase, I sort of get this little shiver up my spine, saying, goodness, is that really what a Tien Long is becoming? I am most certainly Tien Long, not Tien Bao. Tien Bao would be like, you know, the someone's Rule 34 drop-down on fur affinity version of me, and I do not want to become that. So in an effort to, well, as part of my so-called New Year's resolution, and in an effort to continue clinging on to my faded youth and keeping my slim, long anatomy of sorts, I have decided that I shall cut down on my consumption for drinking rice wine, also known as sake, because it is very, very starchy, and it sort of stores up in here, and before you know it, I become a Tien Keg instead of a Tien Long. And, well, unfortunately, that is one of the resolutions I have made. And I wish it were April Fool's Days, because I know many of you are saying, oh, goodness, no, Tien Long, how could you do this? Wah, wah, wah. Well, there is some good news at least. It is not the end of the world. After all, if I was completely cut off from any of my libations, then, well, you would see it on CNN, and it would not be fake news. But I have been told by my pet, he has advised me that I could be consuming more fruits and, you know, all those, you know, things that look all healthy and colorful, and, you know, they're not meaty and not as juicy and meat, and they don't squirm and scream and when you bite into them and all that. But I had to sort of sit down and measure my options as to, well, how can I have a compromise of both fruit and alcohols and whatnot, especially because now that my signature is prohibited from me, so to say. Well, in that case, I have found myself an alternative, which is a fruit, because, of course, grape wines, it's still a fruit, they're made of grapes and all, so I have made the agreement that I shall be starting off my year with some fruits. As you can see here, we have some fruits by the name of megalomaniac fruits. Let us see right there. Yes, megalomaniac, and it comes with, you know, a very fancy looking slender man Kage. This is slender Kage over here, and there's a slender grandma Kage right there. So as you can see, this is sponsored by some very respectable individuals, and it comes from the local regions of where I dwell in Canada. Which means, of course, it's very sorry. So if you feel the need to apologize when you're drinking Canadian wines, you shall know why. But to go on about this is again a grape wine. It is a Riesling, which means that it is made, of course, with very, very sort of sweet, sometimes semi-dry wines. In Canada, they tend to be a little bit sweeter, which is fine by my standards. And of course, as I said, it is a fruit because, of course, this is made with grapes and all, and grapes are fruits, and grapes are healthy and whatnot, and they're full of goodness and grapiness, well, sometimes when you leave them out too long and, they ferment, then they just so happen to turn into wine. So, I shall be starting off my year by being a little better to myself, which in turn will make it better on your eyes, so that when you're looking at me on this stream, it's not so much of an eyesore. Alright, well, that was already a very, very long mouthful. A long mouthful, of course. Well, let me see what glass I have over here for tonight. Tonight I have, well, none other than my signature Tien Long glass, as you can see. You might not be able to see it clearly at this angle. Let me see. I have a Tien Long custom etched glass, for those that have not seen this before. This was a custom wine glass that was laser etched for me at Midwest Fur Fest 2016, I believe. Yes, it was. 2016 I had this etched for me. A very, very lovely gift by my human pet, and, well, one of the few things that I continue to treasure from him to this day. Not many things I treasure from humans, but, well, they have their uses every now and then. Alright, well, I'm not going to leave this all sad and empty and without purpose or meaning, so I shall open up my Megalomaniac grape juice. I shall be calling it my grape juice because if I keep on mentioning the word wine, it'll make me all like... and then I shall forget my New Year's resolution to look after Celestial's health a little bit more. When you get older, you will understand. And those of you that are in the stream that do understand, if you are past that prime age of yours, well, of course you would agree that a celestial dragon, being as old as I am, must take better care of himself. So let us pour some of this grape juice, and we shall see just how it fares. I have not had this before, but my human pet said, oh, look, it has a slender kage, yes, a slender man kage, and a slender grandma kage, and whatnot, so it must be good if they are endorsing it. So let's see how this goes. It does seem to have something of a very, very strong Riesling color, as far as I can see. Yes, it's most definitely a Riesling smell as well. I can already smell it as soon as I pour myself a glass. So I shall get my fabulously pink straw, as I always do. And, well, here's to the new year so far, my friends, and for those that are watching for the first time, if this is your first stream in 2018, it is a good one to catch. I try not to set too many high expectations because, well, let's face it, you're watching a grumpy old dragon on the internet bitch and moan and, well, try to enjoy his New Year's resolution. So, to all of you out there, I hope you have a successful 2018 so far. May you enjoy you and all yours. Well, let's see. I won't say no to this grape juice. It most definitely does have a tinge more sweetness than what I would say I am used to, although again that is passable in my standards. I am not going to be picky about grape juice, especially, well, when it sort of will mellow me down for the rest of the evening. We shall see exactly how it continues to help fuel the evening. But I don't want it to be just about what I have been up to, although many of you would not mind that. Let's see what some of the people in my audience are saying so far. Oh, and I see things about boozy, something boozy. Boozy barrister thought lawyers earn good money, LOL, says Nostul. Well, I'm not sure if the badger is in attendance for the stream tonight. I really do hope that he is resting up in his den, wherever he is. Him and his significant otter. Both of them had somewhat of a bad ending, I would say, to the year of 2017, and hopefully they're doing much better this year so far. And well, I actually may be seeing the Badger next week down in North Carolina. There is an event going on by the name of Anthro Crossroads East, and that will be happening in Raleigh, North Carolina next weekend. The Badger has indicated that he will be there, and I shall be there as well. And hopefully, if you are in the area of Raleigh, North Carolina, or just in the surrounding region, I hope to see you there as well. It should be an interesting experience. But what else is happening as well? And Silver Gatomon says, Tien mentioning Slender Kage makes me want to see Tien play Slender. I've heard some things about this so-called Slender. Now, let me say this right now. I have not been on this earth for too long. I have descended from the skies about now 4 years back, I shall say. And for those of you that do not know, actually, I marked the anniversary of my descent down onto this mortal earth 4 years ago, actually, on January 17th, 2014. That was the day that I had marked my retirement, and I was, beamed down to Canada, which is where the celestial, beaming gods thought that would be a good place for me to retire because they're all sorry and whatnot. So, in essence, it was my Earth Day. Not a birthday, but it was rather my Earth Day a couple days ago. So I had a very lovely time sitting at home and doing nothing, because that's what dragons do when they're retired. But, of course, I shall be at Anthro Crossroads East next weekend, and after that I shall be at Vernal Equinox in Toronto, Canada in March 16th to the 18th, if I recall correctly. I shall be there as well. And someone mentioned, I hope to see you back at Eurofurence as well. I will be back at Eurofurence. Oh, that was from Lung Tien Quan. Hope you made it to the Eurofurence this year as well. I am happy to say that I will be returning to Eurofurence one more time. For those of you that are on that side of the pond, I enjoyed myself thoroughly. So much last year that I just could not say no to one more attendance. So I hope to see, for all of you that are heading to Eurofurence 2018, I hope that I will see you all there and that you are able to all get your registrations, because there was something of a panic, I believe, from a lot of the European crowd in terms of waiting for registration to open. And here I was like, la 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 la, I'll just stroll in and, register, because if they say no to a celestial dragon, bad things happen. Or as some memes say, you're going to have a bad time. Well, let's see what else is happening over here. Bruzo Dragonia says, so it wasn't your hatch day, Tien Long. It was not my hatch day, Bruzo Dragonius. If you want to find about my hatch day, you'd probably have to look into the history books back in the, 2 million BC era. That would be probably around the age of celestial dragons such as myself. Then again, we do count our years in celestial years, or what I call noodle years, but, well, I really don't like to talk about my hatch day or my early days. I'm sure if you get my big brother drunk sometime at a bar, he'd probably tell you, but, well, I'm far too old to remember how old I actually am. And again, everyone that is currently in attendance that is past that benchmark of their prime, so to say, will say the same thing. How old are they? Old. That is simply the age they are. They are old. And Maurice Sear says, Happy New Year, Tien Shangdi Bao. I hope I spelled that right. I'm trying to learn Chinese. Well, I believe that you have the right intent, but, of course, it is always good to, sort of, I guess check up with someone that may be a little bit more familiar. But yes, Xinian Kuai to you as well. And again, Chinese New Year or Celestial New Year comes next month for my big brother, myself, and all of our fellow Celestials. And maybe I'll have a stream during then. Let me see. And Mads5408 says, you are not doing nothing, you are destroying cities. I reserve the right to remain silent and all that nonsense. And Boozy Barrister says, I should go to Canada. Well, I'm sorry that you think you should go to Canada, mainly because, well, of course, living in here, we have a quota to say I'm sorry, so I am sorry. But at the same time, I think that you would find it to be a rather enjoyable time interacting with such apologetic folk, and just observing how they gush over the smallest things like a cup of Tim Hortons, or a child picking up their first hockey puck and whatnot, and they'd be like, oh yes, look at that buddy, he's so Canadian, I'm sorry. And it's just so adorable up here in Canada. We are a very adorable country, is what I would say. Ah. And Yakisoba says, I did the math. Tien Long is approximately 9,003 years old now. Well, Yakisoba, how dare you reveal an elderly dragon's age? I thought that you would have more respect than that. This is private, sensitive information. It's almost as if you're revealing a part of a dragon that he doesn't want revealed and all that sort of nonsense. Oh, goodness. Now I feel all exposed and all nude and... well, I kind of am now that I think about it. But anyhow, the point still stands. And let me see. And Nurse Stull says you did the storm over Germany at Thursday. Thursday? Well, if I was thirsting on that day, then I would have most definitely sent a storm over to Germany. It was probably because somewhere in that town, the German Euroferns crew was having a party or something like that. Most likely it would have been Night Fox and Tani or Cheetah or Big Blue Fox or any of those Germans over there that were, throwing up a storm of a party, and that resulted in a storm from the Celestial Dragon not being invited. Let us see. And Yoshiko's Raptidorus says you mean the entire Europe. Well, I can't help it. All dragons and all people in general, we don't exactly have a sense of aim. Just ask them when they go to the bathroom. Anyhow, next question. Altoriu says he just curls into a ball and rolls over everything like some sort of Katamari type deal. I don't exactly roll into a ball. If I tried to do that, do you think that the back pain that I have now would ever forgive me? Oh, goodness gracious, do I look like a Tien Bao to you right now? Huff! And I thought that I was trying to resolve my new year by staying a little more healthy and whatnot, by drinking grape juice instead of my regular libations and all that. Let us see what other revelations or resolutions, not revelations, perhaps they could be revelations, but resolutions that I have heard this year or have experienced for myself. Well, I do know that one resolution that I have made for this year, aside from being healthier in what I eat as well, is also the amount of exercising that a celestial dragon should do. Like I mentioned earlier, in retirement it gets very easy to get complacent and almost near vegetative when you're sitting in your den doing absolutely nothing whatsoever. You sort of begin to lack the sunlight and forget what it's like seeing the outside world and smelling fresh air and, just being someone that is part of a so-called society and all that. But, well, I have resolved for myself that a celestial dragon will be a little more active and out and about, so... well, again, if you see me on CNN rampaging through a city, do not be alarmed. I am simply trying to get my exercise at the expense of municipal governments and whatnot. So, well, at least I know that I have some sort of excuse whenever they come after me at my door and say, well, we want you to foot the bill for destroying half of Toronto's neighborhoods. And, well, I'll just say, oh, well, I'm sorry. Because in Canada, you can pretty much get away with anything by saying that you're sorry. I forgot that I have my grape juice over here. Of course, I can't be healthy with my grape juice if I don't partake in my grape juice, so... there you are. This is essentially my prune juice for elders, except I chose a much higher quality one that will make me forget it is grape juice later on. So cheers once again to you all. Well, the grape juices are certainly growing on and along. It's almost as if there is some sort of influence that is coming from the title or its label, whether it's the whole megalomaniac branding that they put on it or the slender kage. Perhaps it is the slender kage that is on the label. I figure that that has something to do with it. After all, you would not just simply put the Slenderman version on yourself on a bottle of wine and, give it to a celestial dragon unless you are trying to put him under your influence and sneak past him while he's too inebriated to care and, then pilfer his wine stash or something. I don't think that he would ever do that to me, would he? After all, I thought that he had more respect for celestial dragons now, and, well, again, I did resolve that I would be treating him a little nicer this year. But I wonder, since 2018 has so far been in the dumps, perhaps it is not worth keeping these so-called resolutions that these humans have. After all, it seems that New Year's resolutions are more like false platitudes anyhow, that people say to make themselves feel better until they see the next bottle of wine. Well, I'll have to ask that question next time I see him. That'll be next week. Yes, perhaps I shall ask him if he was doing anything coy with my wine stash while I was enjoying my grape juice and all. So, speaking of next week, there are a couple things that I believe that I'll be getting up to. For those of you, again, that will be in attendance at Anthro Crossroads East in Raleigh, North Carolina, there are a few things that you'll be able to see, not only myself, but you'll be able to see Uncle Kage, Boozy Barrister, Alkali Bismuth, and perhaps maybe one or two more of our friends getting up to. Some of those things include the 2.5 Doctor panel that is happening at the convention. That is happening at Sunday. I believe it is happening in the evening, somewhat late afternoon, early evening, and I am not sure exactly what will be happening there, but we have 2.5 Doctors, so what could possibly go wrong? And, well, other things that are happening, I believe, include the, what is it called again? Boozy, if you would be so kind, I see that you are here. What was that panel called that you wanted to, try out at the convention? Something with with baiting and being a master of it. I shall let Boozy illustrate that panel out to the audience, but another panel that of course is recurring once more at Anthro Crossroads is the Monkey Knife Fights panel, and well, that is one that I unfortunately missed the first time it was around. I shall be sure not to miss it the second time. After all, you just listen to the title, Monkey Knife Fights, and this is the kind of stuff that only people that have the utmost intelligence and sound state of mind would come up with in existence. Yes, there's the title right there. The Masturbation panel. Yes, Masturbation. Yes, that is a panel that Boozy Barrister has submitted for Anthro Crossroads, and if I'm correct, it has been approved for the panel schedule there. And the Masturbation panel is where a whole bunch of people get together in a room and they masturbate. Yes, it's a lot of masturbating going along in that room. So it is certainly a very interesting time. I hope that it's not going to be too hands-on, but at the same time, properly thorough enough that we can debate everything we need to debate and all. And let me see. And Darkonus Delente says, no eating the children, Long. Well, if I can't eat the children, where else am I going to get my share of innocence? If I can only find so many sources of innocence to continue being innocent and being not accountable for things that happen to wine cellars whenever I find them. But, well, if I can't have the children, well, I guess I'll just have to have the puppies and the kittens then. Would you enjoy that? Well, I can't really have the puppies this year because that would be bad luck. After all, in the coming month, during Celestial New Year, we shall officially be kicking the cock out and then we shall be welcoming in the dog. And for those of you that have no idea what I am talking about, it was the year of the cock back in 2017, and it will very shortly be changed into the year of the Doge, because the year of the Doge, of course, is full of Doges, and Doges are very, very good, and so are puppers. So, well, puppers are full of innocence, and if I can't eat the children, then I guess I'll just have to settle for some puppers, because I don't discriminate. Ah. And let me see. Altoriu says it's about as stupid as back when the cinnamon challenge was a thing. Okay, I was not aware that we were bringing back the cinnamon challenge, or what is happening. I'm not sure something is being as equivalently as stupid as that, but let's not have that happen on my stream, or rather, let's not have it when we have a lawyer in the room. I don't want to have them, jump into action and have to hand out business cards for any sort of repercussion. And Paula Lakiao says, hello Tien Long from Germany, hello, guten Tag, and yes, yes, all this to you, and yes, ich bin ein Nudeldrache, and all that, yes. Ich bin Tien Long, ich bin ein Nudeldrache, and yes, and yes, and Wein, yes. Ich trinken Wein, yes, Weißwein. And Aldia Karufa says, eat some hot doges. Well, hot doges, I believe, are when you find a doge in the sun, and that is what you call a hot doge. And, well, hot doges apparently are very jumpy and run around often, and again, I am old and cannot chase these doges around. They are very quick on their feet, and I'm long on my feet, but I am not quick, unfortunately. And Boozy says, Tien, how much charity something? I missed that comment as it went away a little too fast. Let me see what is happening here. Oh, and, for some reason, the Compooper wanted to save that comment. It was like, yes, Tien, you should do the the cinnamon challenge. Boozy Barrister says, Tien, how much charity money for you to do the cinnamon challenge? What about a small donation of $1 million? Because goodness forbid that I would be the one to be the last suffering from such a ridiculous juvenile prank, even if it is for the doggos and the puppers and all those. Well, we shall have to see what exactly we get up to at Anthro Crossroads, because although we have a couple of events that we will be putting on there, it will mostly be, well, Boozy, myself, Uncle Kage, Alkali Bismuth, and whoever else that bothers to join us 4 horsemen, or 4 drunkards, over to the bar that I believe is in the hotel across the street from where the convention is. And that's actually one thing that I had discovered when I had been in North Carolina for New Year's Eve. Some of you actually may have seen that my previous stream, I had visited Uncle Kage down in North Carolina, and we had visited the hotel that Anthro Crossroads would be held in, only to find that the bar that they had was actually located in the other hotel across the street. So it's going to be an interesting experience trying to run between the bar, back to our panel, back to the bar, and then yet back to another panel, back and forth, and I hope that it would give us a good exercise so that we may be sober enough for another round by the time we get back. Let me see. Boozy Barrister says, $500 at Ace. I'll do the cinnamon challenge to the charity because I have no dignity left. Boozy, I'm sure that you would do it for probably as low as $50, some sympathetic looks, and, well, probably just $50, some sympathetic looks, and memes. Yes, memes is probably what you would do it for as well. Just don't stoop as low as Tide Pods. We don't want to have to do a Tide Pod eating challenge. I don't feel like writing out the paperwork for being a witness to that. And let me see. Nico Panda says, would that $1 million be tax deductible? Well, it is a charitable donation, so yes, I believe that you'd be able to claim some sort of charitable donation tax benefit or tax reduction of some sort. So, well, I don't think that it would be too bad of a loss. That is assuming that one has $1 million to donate to charity, or for Long to eat a whole spoonful of cinnamon. Ah, yes, and let me see. Darkanos Delente says you are getting soft and merciful. Ah, well, again, the whole New Year's resolution thing, which has a lifespan of about 28 days, in which 8 are left. The entire resolution thing that I undertook was, I shall be nicer to not only Uncle Kage, my dearest friend in this entire mortal universe and whatnot, but also to all of the doggos and the catos and the foxos and the wolfos and all those sorts of creatures all around the place. So, well, I shall wait for those 8 days to expire until after Anthro Crossroads, and then afterwards I shall joyfully go back to hating everything and everyone. Ah, well, let me see. The Tide Pod Challenge at a con is merely washing your fursuit, says Boozy Barrister. Well, if that's the case, then I'm pretty sure the fandom has been undertaking the Tide Pod Challenge since Tide Pods were made, and even before then. That's a good 10 or so years, 10 plus years or so, that the fandom has been undertaking the Tide Pod Challenge. And I hate to say it, but I think most of the fandom has sadly not passed that. Now that I think about it, you are right. The entire essence of the Tide Pod Challenge is almost like a satirical reminder of, yes, you smell, therefore you need to eat these Tide Pods so that it will somehow exfoliate all of that stench out of your fursuit and skin and all that sort of nonsense so that we could actually have respectable beings at conventions. Huh. Perhaps we should propose that to conventions that, have a larger majority of fursuiters, or at least a large base of fursuiters, and we could just sneakily put a couple Tide Pods in their fursuit, or not in the fursuits, but in the registration bags. Although I think that you'll probably see the fursuiters eating them rather than actually using them. So, in that case, we'd just be reinforcing the memes. Oh, goodness. I thought that we were going to leave that in 2017, but I guess it will follow us into eternity of the furry fandom. And Alex the Lion says, 5 days until Australia Day, woo-woo, woo-hoo, woo-hoo, yes, woo-woo. And, yes, Australia apparently is going to then flip one more time up and then back down under. So 5 days until Australia Day, where they flip up and go woohoo, then they flip back down and go back down under. And let us see. Andrew Griffin says, Tien, did you see the game show where a furry got stuck on the game challenge he was given? The Crystal Maze Planet game. I do not believe that I had seen that, and I actually did not know that there was a furry that was on a game show. Last time I have seen furries on any sort of media or show was during, I believe it was Indie FurCon last year. Last time I had seen furries on the media, and it was a bunch of fursuiters who had gone to the Little League game that was going on in the city of Indianapolis, and they had gone in costume, of course, and, well, needless to say, I think that most people were more interested in the fursuits in sports jerseys and gear versus the actual game itself, which is kind of sad, but cute at the same time. For those of you that are not familiar with IFC, it is Indie FurCon, which is the FurCon that runs in Indianapolis, Indiana. And one year they actually had, the hotel shared with a Little League group that was with them at the exact same weekend, and, well, let's just say that these two groups, it was a little volatile at times when you had kids, little leaguers running around essentially and, sort of playfully and yet at the same time antagonizingly bumping into fursuits, chasing after them, making funny faces and going bleh at them and all that. Now we did have some good folk from our community that were able to make nice with the little leaguers and all that, although we did have one incident where one of the little leaguers didn't exactly return that gesture. So, well, it is an interesting thing to see whenever we have fursuits interact with the younger ones. and you'll never know what you're going to get. I especially know because I had one time where I was visiting Uncle Kage in North Carolina, and we had gone to a bowling alley, and they had a little princess birthday party going on at the same time, and suddenly I had become the dragon that stumbled upon the horde of princesses, and they had no knights in shining armor to rescue them, so well, apparently those little princesses became the knights in shining armor and tried to kung fu me back into my bowling lane. It was it was very undignified, and of course, because there were other humans watching, I couldn't exactly, destroy their entire existences or their fantasy. But, well, it seems that they at least enjoyed themselves and being able to interact with a dragon while they were playing princess, and it was all very adorable and all that. Well, let's see what else is happening over here as well. And Jerwin Dragon says, Tien, can you tell us the Chinese animal of the year? Well, yes, I can, Jerwin Dragon. It will be the year of the Doge coming next. And yes, it is the Doge. It is no longer the dog because, well, the dog was so, 2012. After 2012, it became the year of the Doge. So we will have that year following the year of the cock, which will be passing on February the 16th, and that is when the Doge will come yapping and barking in and, sliding all over the floor and then bounding up to your leg and humping your leg incessantly and wanting all your adoration before Pizzo in itself. But yes, the badge art has said, what's that, a goat? Is that a goat furry, says Boozy Barrister. You better hide your badge art. That badge art would do better to show such disrespect to a celestial dragon. Then again, I can probably point a finger at who taught him that. And let me see. Yakisoba says, in before Tien Long got turned into a princess himself. Yakisoba, how dare you? Yet again, I thought you would be one that knows about respecting celestials. Do I look like a pretty pink princess to you, even with my fabulously pink straw? Do I? Do I sincerely look like a pretty princess? I do not have any of those sparkly Disney princess-made dresses on me. I am not a damsel in distress waiting for some knight in shining armor. I do not even have my own Disney theme song, for goodness sake. Every princess has their own theme song, and I don't have my theme song whatsoever. I only have the soundtracks of Foxamore and the Celestials' Ball, which I find infinitely better than any of those Disney princess themes and whatnot. So I am nothing close to a pretty princess whatsoever. Thank you very much. I shall never consider being a pretty princess, not even if there were 1,000,000 bottles of wine in it. Well, perhaps if there are 1,000,000 bottles of wine in it for me. But anyhow, I shall not be a pretty princess. And Maurice Sears asks, Tien, how many princesses have you eaten honestly? If I said that, Maurice Sears, I would be convicting myself of such a crime. I shall remain silent and plead the fifth. Or in this case, in Canada, I believe you have to, do the metric conversion from the imperial. So I would be pleading I would be pleading like the 6 point something and then subsection 22.1, whatever the decimal places are. But yes, I would be pleading the Canadian fifth, of course. And let me see. Phil Adler says we might need to make Tien a Disney theme song. I do not want a Disney theme song for myself. Thank you very much. What part of I don't have a Disney theme song did you interpret as I want a Disney theme song? Goodness, do I look like I really want to let it go? Because I want this to let it go. Let it go, rather. I would like to let go of this notion of a celestial dragon, a dignified, regal celestial dragon being turned into, Elsa from Frozen, or being turned into, anyone else from the Disney princess roster and all that. I do not even have the slightest fantasy of such a thing happening in any foreseeable future. And let me see. Silver Gotamon says, that reminds me of a time someone called you a lion at IFC, if I remember correctly. I have been called a lion, a goat, a ShamWow, a doge, a doggo, and a lizard of all variations during my time so far here on this earth. It is almost as if people have forgotten what celestial dragons look like, or even, sort of have the faintest idea of the celestials that rule above them in the skies. It's almost, it's like the youngsters these days are distracted too much by their phones or their tablets or things like that. And well, there's absolutely no room for the imaginations of celestial dragons or whatnot. I think we should have a noodle uprising in 2018. Yes, a noodle uprising would be the perfect way to educate all of these youngsters on just what they are missing above. I shall have to plan this out with my fellow noodle brother, Tien Long, my big brother in Singapore, and all the other noodles as well. We shall have to slowly indoctrinate all of the young ones in the next generation and the furry community in the ways of the celestial noodles and whatnot. And slowly but surely we shall rise to power once again. We shall make the earth noodle again. Yes, we will MENA, make the earth noodle again. Yes, I like this idea. I shall campaign for this as much as I can with a small loan of 1,000,000 noodles. And Mightiest 77 says, ha 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 ha, a sham wow, a Tien wow. Well, I wish I were lying, but I do not jest when I say that I have been called a sham wow before. There was a time that unfortunately still exists to this day, but there was a time when I was, I guess what I would say, at the height of a celestial's exposure on the interwebs, where all the little kids were looking up at Tien Long and saying, oh, look, yes, what is this? Notices your noodles and whatnot. But during that time, of course, with having such visibility comes a lot of, I hate to say it, but comes along the wrong sort of flattery. And that wrong sort of flattery took the form of my character and myself being put online in some sort of auction site where, oh yes, you can bid on this sham wow, where you can bid on this Chinese dragon goat sham wow. I was a hybrid. Goodness gracious, they made me a hybrid of all things when I am only a celestial. And they were like, oh yes, you can be this sham wow and you can look as great as a sham wow and you can sham wow everyone that you can sham or wow. And I could not even be offended by it. I was offended by the concept that I was a sham wow, but just the whole notion that someone would think I was of value to auction off to try and make it as if I was worth something to someone else that they would instantly snatch me up like a cheap date. Well, it was kind of flattering, I will be honest. After all, at my age, we get it where we can. Don't judge me, you. All right, I want another drink of my grape juice after that, because now I'm reminded of that moment where they took my listing off because no one bid on it. So there you go. One person thought that I would be worth at least some sort of monetization, and I was hoping to see the moment where someone had bought such a thing or ordered or bid on it, and to see like a potential unboxing video where they would be like, oh yes, look at me, I has me a Tien, I have a sham wow dragon all to myself. And then they open it up and it's all like, it's just like a limp noodle or something like that. Yes, I am now quite certain after the third sip that they have put something in this grape juice to make it a lot more appealing than I thought it would be. And I don't think it was particularly because of the grape. I think someone else had added a little something. Again, perhaps I'm beginning to suspect that this is the working of someone who knows my preferences too well. I shall have to give him a stern talk about this next time I see him. Probably next week and whatnot. Well, let us see what is happening. And Boozy Burster says dragon goat. Yes, Boozy, that is exactly what I was referred to as, a dragon goat. And in fact, I may even have a picture laying around somewhere of exactly the listing that was put up of me. I shall have to find it and perhaps put it on Twitter later. Not right now, as it would take a little bit of time to find, but essentially, you can see that it lists me as a Chinese dragon, goat, sham, wow, and then, like, all of the above mashed into one. And it was like, the fuck? It was like the full Philly, like, yo, the fuck? And all that sort of nonsense. But those were the days that, you could at least appreciate a celestial dragon's worth by seeing that even, Chinese or French or Russian or whoever owned the website, that someone wanted to, make use or value or saw value in the celestial dragon, and then of course it ended up with no one bidding on it. It got my hopes up that it was not too late for a celestial dragon in terms of my candidacy with all the youngsters, and then, well, it just shot me down once again because no one wanted to buy a sham wow. Think about it. Would you not want to buy a sham wow dragon, especially if it was a good price, 2 for 1, buy one, get one half off sort of deal? That was what essentially they were offering. They put a number low enough on my listing that I thought it would be like everyone was going to get themselves a sham wild dragon, and it would all be like, oh yes, look at me, I have a sham wild dragon. Yes, I am. Look at me. And well, nothing happened. So that was sort of a heartbreaker for me. And Gumi Bjorn says, so it's Tien Long. Bah. Bah to you as well, Gumi Bjorn. Bah. I am not a Tien Bah. That is a Tien goat, and Tien goats do not exist. It is only Tien Longs, and on occasion Tien Baos. But not tonight, I am not a Tien Bao. And Graphics says, oh great celestial dragon, may a cute angel dragon request a hug at Ace? Question mark, question mark. Well, if you ask politely enough and you're not ambushing me at Ace, then, well, I suppose you may also have one. After all, it will be within the allotted time period of I must stick to my New Year's resolutions, which again expire in 8 days, rather. I am at day 20 of 28 days of New Year resolution, because after the 28th day is when I officially say, screw all of my New Year resolutions, I shall go back to being Tien Long. So yes, during that time, you may give me a hug, and I will not mind it whatsoever. At least I won't show it. But, well, at Ace, it brings me back to exactly what is happening at Ace. Well, apparently there is a dance battle that will be going on at the event as well. And I don't know exactly what will be happening at the dance battle, but I have been asked to provide some of my so-called professional commentary on that event, and I don't really know what professional commentary I really have, rather than, this person looks good, this person looks bad, oh, that person clearly won, and, that person clearly broke their hip or something. Too soon, Boozy? I apologize. I do not mean to jibe at you like that. Let me see. Another question. Do you drink anything other than wine? Just curious, Maurice Sears says. Well, Maurice, I'll have you know that I drink rice wine as well. I drink grape wine. I drink wine in the form of tears that children cry whenever I kick over the, spill the ice cream or, deflate the balloons or whatnot. So I do drink quite a few wines, and, well, of course they are different drinks because they all come from different sources and have their different uses. And let me see. And Phil Adler says, I would buy you as many sham wild dragons as I could. Well, the thought is what counts, so thank you very much, Phil. I still wish that there was that chance where someone, even if it was my human pet, if someone could have bought if they could have bought just one, they bid on it, and then, they see whether or not it would be delivered. Something tells me it would never have been delivered, but if it was delivered, they would, have this whole unboxing video, and it'd be like, oh yes, look at me, yay, I am about to, open up my first sham wow dragon. Yes, look at me, I have my very own personal Tien sham wow. And then they open it up, and again, it's like a limp noodle. It's like a noodle that's just like sagging there, and it's all like, yes, look at me, I am limp wow. I am sham limp, yes, look at me. I would have loved to see the reaction on that human's face, whoever it would have been. And let me see. Alex the Lion, too, says, what about European blunt-nosed dragons? Well, I'm not sure what you could really use a blunt-nosed dragon for. Perhaps you can hammer things down with their blunt noses, or you could perhaps bludgeon your worst enemies into submission with their blunt noses. I'm sure they have many practical applications, but perhaps not as many as ShamWow dragons. I personally prefer ShamWow. Between the two, ShamWow dragons and blunt-nosed dragons, I would be picking ShamWow dragons, no question about it. And Mads5408 says, I want to see Boozy Barrister dance. I would like to see Boozy Barrister dance as well. I am sure that he is more than capable right now of giving us a very entertaining dance, indeed, especially if, he had the right music or soundtrack to go with it. That is, one that won't get instantly slapped with a DMCA or something like that. But, we shall have to see just how we can find a way to pass the time at Ace. Perhaps we'll have to have our own little bar dance party or something like that. Although Boozy Barrister does bring up a good point and say dancing is a liability right now. Well, it's a liability if you're on duty, and technically at Ace, well, I guess at the same time you would know a little more about the liability part than I would, but at least for me it's entertainment, and that's what I'm going to Ace for, so entertain away, good friend, entertain away. And Phil Adler says, oops, I spilled some wine, better soak it up with my ShamWow dragon. Yes, Phil has the right idea. This is exactly how you use a ShamWow dragon. You use it to soak up any sort of leftover wine or wine spills that you have before the wine sours or gets contaminated. And let me see. Gumi Bjorn says, a limp noodle, so like Tien Long after a couple bottles of sake. Gumi Bjorn, you are revealing too much to these youngsters. It is not even after 8 p.m., and yet you are already giving them all these lewd thoughts. I thought you had more respect for celestial dragons than that, my friend. And Nustul says, hashtag Boozy2EF, stick out tongue smiley face. Well, I do believe that Boozy would have a lovely time entertaining the guests of Eurofurence, and trying to probably understand a lot of their interesting interpretations of American accents and whatnot. I say that as if they do have trouble understanding the American accent, but Uncle Kage himself used to talk about such things like he has to sort of dumb down his American to the Eurofurence, sort of level, and, it ends up being that the Eurofurence furs actually speak much better and more eloquent English than the Americans do because, the education system in Europe actually works and all that. But, I would love to see Boozy Barrister and his take on how hard the European parties fur, especially at Eurofurence and whatnot. Because Boozy Barrister has been in the fandom for, if I am correct, he has been with our community for about 9 months now. Yes, 9 months indeed. So he's been with our community for about 9 months now, and he has been to a room party or two at least, and I remember seeing him at one, but, I don't think he's ever experienced a German room party yet. And until you experience the German room party, Mr. Barrister, you have not experienced a room party at all. And Long Tian Quan says, what do you think about all the humans they dare it to hunt down a dragon? Well, they can try. I don't think many have lived to tell the tale, and I've made sure of that. That's all I'll say on the matter. And Silver Gottman says, something I want to see is a group dance between you and Telephone, or was that something else? I saw something regarding a group dance, and I believe it was with Telephone and I. Yes, group dance performance of you and Telephone. Well, that is an interesting thought. I'm not sure if Telephone herself would be up for getting with with an old dragon which is febrile and senile as I am, but if she would be up for the idea, I would not be adverse to it either. After all, I like to think of myself as something of a gentle dragon when it comes to the females, of course. And if she invites me to do a group dance performance, then I would not say no to such a thing. Let me see. Boozy Barrister says, wrong, I drank with the Germans at Anthrocon, I remember nothing. Then you have been to a German room party. Wait, there's a little bit of a paradox there. You say you drank with the Germans, but you remember nothing. So are you sure you drank with the Germans? Did you drink perhaps with individuals that sounded like Germans, that acted like Germans, that maybe said a few things in Deutsche, but in reality were like spies from Anthrocon that were secretly getting you onto staff or something? Could be possible, could be possible. After all, I find it highly suspicious that you say that you drank with the Germans at Anthrocon, because you don't drink with the Germans, they drink with you. That's how it happens. They are the ones that bring the party to you, just as Poland. Anyhow, Maurice Sears says, Tien, what is your number one music to dance to? Maurice Sears, I do not necessarily have number one music that I would dance to, but, well, I have music that I tolerate. That being said, if you see my performances from Anthrocon 2016 or 2015, you will see very clearly what kind of music that I enjoy performing to. Of course, as a celestial dragon and an ancient dragon, I try to keep my tastes rather traditional, and, well, in my opinion, I like to keep them also very classy as well. Things that are befitting of a celestial dragon's honor. So that usually brings it back to orchestral music of any sort. And let me see what happens. Bruiser Dragonia says, I noticed that EF is most popular with Ogonians to attend as a furrycon, as most of us live in Europe. Well, Bruzo, I think you would be right on that count, although I would also say that Eurofern seems to be popular with most furs, period. I know of pretty much every furry that has been to Euroferns from at least abroad and has not had a bad experience. And many people from Euroferns that would have had bad experiences would usually be because of things that were within their control, not things that Euroferns had slighted them with or had, not done properly, because, well, the Germans never do anything halfway. But again, the Euroferns is essentially one of the conventions where it is extremely, extremely difficult to find fault with. Again, I do not know of many, if any at all, that have found any fault with it whatsoever that is in Euroferns' control, and everyone seems to have themselves a wonderful, wonderful time. Hence why I shall be returning this year. Well, let us see. And Boozy Barrister says, yeah, about that, ... Well, am I wrong, or... I mean, after all, the Germans do bring the party to you again. So, at Eurofriends, if you're able to make it one year, perhaps this year or the next, you'll just have to see for yourself just how hard the party comes crashing down into your room at 2 a.m. And of course, Boozy, you have heard the story about Grand Makage's room party last year, or rather the year before in 2016. I'm sure that you remember that. That was, I believe, the first year, actually no, I stand corrected, that was the second year after Grand Pakage unfortunately passed away, but the second Eurofriends after Grand Makage, after Grand Makage in her room, and basically every night was a party in her room because, well, let's face it, you don't say no to Grand Makage, whether it's because she's so sweet and dearly wants to adopt you, or because she's going to gut punch you if you don't show up at her party. And Yoshiko's Raptoridus says that's with Russians. Well, I guess you could say, yes, it is either with the Russians or with the Germans. I mean, either way, if you remember even drinking with them, then you clearly have not been drinking with the right Russians or Germans. If you ever drink with Germans or Russians, you are guaranteed to either not remember even being approached by them, or you'll be doing everything in your power to make sure there is no evidence of what happened. Believe me, my human pet knows all too well about making sure there was no evidence. But, well, Your ferns, again, I don't go primarily to not remember it. I go primarily because I want to remember the good times that I have with my European fans and my audience as well, and just the entire atmosphere in general. They provide such a wonderful atmosphere for a celestial dragon to enjoy. And Yoshiko says, Tien, bring Fluffy Ronnie and Xiaolong Bao back. Well, if you insist I could go fetch them, I shall fetch them in a moment. And Jerwin Dragon, Tien is Tilt Longtail your favorite character among in this fandom? Jerwin Dragon, I don't believe Tilt Longtail is my favorite character in this fandom, but rather he is one that I admire. Tilt is a very, very dedicated character in both his main character, which is simply known as Tilt, or in any of the other personalities he is known as, such as Brer Fox or Gryfer the Fox, or even Chester Cheetah, which he has mascotted a few times. But he is most definitely one that I would say is an inspiration to us all, for someone that has dedicated himself to his craft for as long as he has. He is most certainly someone that I would look up to and recommend others to as well. And let me see what else is happening over here. Nustul says, I need to be afraid of Grandma Kage now because Hei said she wanted to introduce to me. She want to introduce to me? Question mark. Well, there's nothing to be afraid of from Grandma Kage, I will say, unless, of course, either one, you've run out of wine, or two, you've somehow pissed her off or Uncle Kage off. And BT Verval says Grandma Kage is the most charming, kind, and caring host one can imagine. Of course, she is Grandma Kage. She is your picturesque, sweet old little lady with, short, curly white hair and Grandma Kage glasses and, just an adorable, endearing face and demeanor overall, where she's all sweet and innocent and very Grandma Kage-like, until she sees the party, or rather, she starts the party. When she starts the party, that's when your ferns really goes, oons, 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 yes, look at me, I am partying, I am your ferns. And TC Mutt asks, any chance of making an Australian con? I would like to make it down to Australia at one point, TC Mutt, but I have never been formally invited. Now, the thing is, I could be going on my own accord, but Australia is rather far. And, well, before you say that Berlin is far or anywhere else is far like that, Australia is its own, universe. It is its own little world. And the thing is, anyone that has not been to Australia but then has gone for the first time will tell you the same thing. It is completely a different experience. And, well, I'm sort of trying to build myself towards that. The farthest that I've been, or closest I've been to Australia, is Singapore right now. And Singapore, as much as I love it, as well as my big brother, the temperature and the climate there damn near killed me in Singapore. So I shall have to slowly work my way to the Australian level, and then perhaps I shall consider an Australian con. But it is not completely out of the picture. I shall have another go at my grape juice, and then I think I shall need another refill. I shall pour myself a little bit more grape juice so far. What time is it? It is 7:08 so far. It seems like I have been blabbing for much longer than that, but it seems that the night is still very, very young indeed. And I hope that I am not taking up too much of your evenings as well. This is, again, the very first stream of 2018, and, well, I am not inclined to be doing anything profound in this stream. I simply want to make sure that everyone is having themselves a good year so far, even though we are barely 3 weeks in and we are not having any false alarms, unlike certain, states that are in certain countries and whatnot. But, I do not mean to make light of the situation that happened over there. For those of you that do not know, I am of course referring to the false alarms that happened in Hawaii about a week ago now, I would say. And, well, I do sympathize with the situation over there in terms of the populace. Not so much the officials or the governor or any of the staff and whatnot, but more so I sympathize with the humans that are there. And it is rare of me to say this, especially because, well, I am Tien Long. I am Grumpy Tien Long. I am celestial god of the skies. I eradicate humanity for my amusement and all that. But, well, it is unfortunate that people are going about their daily lives and suddenly they are stricken by the mere thought that they would be ended. Out of their control, completely out of their control, or out of the blue, that they would suddenly cease to be in a mere 20 minutes time. And, well, I would not wish that even upon my worst enemies, because I would at least give them some warning before I would be chasing them down. But for those unfortunate folk, it must have been unimaginable, the terror and the fear that went through them. So I hope that, well, I shall say for anyone that is out near that region, or any other region that may be under such a tense state of affairs right now, to keep your chin up in 2018. We shall all be here for each other, and I hope that you're able to at least enjoy yourselves as much as we can, because when our time comes, then our time comes. But until then, it is merely about how much you're able to find enjoyment in the middle of such a chaotic world. So here's to you finding your happiness and enjoyment this year, wherever you may be able to find it. Good grape juice indeed. And people are talking about the time zones as well. Of course, me mentioning the time zone that a dragon is in, which is of course the Eastern time zone on the east coast of the North American continent. And Jerwin Dragon says, I'm drunk here, so I'm not going home. Well, Jerwin Dragon, I am safe to say that I am envious of you, because this grape juice does absolutely nothing for a celestial dragon. It is merely grape juice, and again, I have promised that I will be healthy this year, because goodness knows that I do not need to be a Tien Bao by the end of this month. And, well, let's see. I think something similar happened in Japan, or such, says Altorio. Well, it's safe to say again that the world is entirely, the entire world is at a false alarm sort of status right now. Everyone is put on edge. Everyone has sort of bated breath as to the next near world-ending move that anyone could make, regardless where it comes from. Which is why, again, it is most important to hold on to whatever you hold dear. Continue holding on to it. Make sure that you cherish it, pour your heart and love into it as much as you can, and at the end of the day, enjoy yourself as best as you can. Because we never know what tomorrow may bring. It may bring storms, it may bring grumpy celestial dragons, but we never know what it may bring. And let me see. Jerwin Dragon also asks, have you ever tried to be fashionable? Jerwin Dragon, I don't think that you have recalled previous streams where I have dressed up to the nines, as the humans would say, or even my Chinese New Year streams where a celestial dragon looks a lot more festive than he usually does for the celestial New Year transition. Perhaps, I'll have a doge or something with me for the next one, because, as I said, the celestial New Year mascot for next month will be the year of the doge. So, fashionable in human terms? Probably not, but in terms of celestial regality, I am the epitome of fashionable for celestials. Tien Long would never be seen walking out in anything less than his best, is what I would say. I just have to stretch out these old bones. Again, like I said at the beginning of the stream, don't get old. It is not fun when you get old. Stay as young as you can be. Let's see. And Yoshiko's Raptoridus says if his monocle counts. Well, if my monocle counts, of course, those of you that have known about my monocle know that I like to give monocle glares whenever I can. I don't have my monocle with me right now, unfortunately, but well, I try to be as suave as a celestial dragon can be. I've tried every trick in the book to attract all of these youngsters to, like a celestial dragon more and, get on the good sides and whatnot, but again, it proves time and time again to be too difficult. And therefore, it's just easier to be all irritable and all annoyed by them, just because it then gives them that attention, and then they in return give me attention by saying, "Oh, look at you, you're so cute when you're grumpy." And I say, "No, I am not grumpy or cute. I am not cute, I am grumpy." And they say, "Oh, yes, you are so cute. Who's a cute dragon?" And I say, "Huff! I shall eat you when no one is looking." And let me see. And Sariku Nezume says, "Hi, everyone." Well, hello, Sariku. I am not sure if I am saying that correctly, but hello, it's good to see you here. And Yakisoba, "Don't get old wise words from a wise dragon." Well, I would know. If you look at this demeanor, if you look at this expression, I would know how bad it is to get old. Now, there's one thing that did definitely set me off and my 2018 off for the worse, which was my human pet. I had instructed to go and fetch me something interesting to do for this stream in particular because, well, I don't want it to be just a grumpy stream. I want it to be Tien Long's grumpy stream. And he actually went out and was searching for things and thought he had found just what I needed for this particular show. Until he found out that that one particular thing was actually not available, because what he had done was he was going out with his mom noodles, as he refers to her as. He was going out with mom noodles, and they had stumbled upon some sort of human establishment, some apparently very gross establishment that is to be avoided at all costs. I believe it was called Donald Mix or something like that. Yes, Donald Mix is what they called it. And inside Donald Mix, they were looking around for some reason. I think they wanted to get themselves a coffee. And Mom Noodles had spotted a book. And this book was Once Upon a Dragon. And of course, my human pet being all all attentive and being, all best interests of Tien Long in his mind was like, "Oh, look, yes, look at that. That is Once Upon a Dragon. We must get that for Tien Long." And they hurriedly ran up to the counter and they asked, "Yes, where may I get this Once Upon a Dragon and whatnot?" And of course, like all good things, they all must come to an end, or in this case, they must all be sold out. And they did not have any more Once Upon a Dragons, and when my human pet relayed the story to me, I was absolutely furious, and I took out a condo building or two because of it. Well, my human pet then found a way to calm me down because he actually devised my own version of Once Upon a Dragon, and he has aptly named it Once Upon a Long. So, well, my human has actually authored himself a very quick book, and he has done so in my honor. So I have this first draft of Once Upon a Long sitting over there just off the camera, and I'm not sure if I want to share it with my audience now, simply because, well, maybe it just needs a little more refinement. Maybe I shouldn't be sharing such delicacies with my audience. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I should ponder it over another sip of this grape juice. Goodness. And I see a bunch of numbers on the screen right now. I'm not sure if my audience is doing math or something of the sort, but there are a lot of numbers, and none of them mean anything significant to me right now. So I shall assume that there is some sort of math contest going on. Someone must have asked a very difficult equation, and people are trying to solve it. And let me see. Snazzy Fly says, I drew a Princess Tien. Ah, well, Snazzy Fly, I thought that you as well would have a little bit more consideration for a celestial dragon's dignity, which is no longer existing, of course, but I thought you would still have enough consideration to at least warn me that you were going to do so, or at the very least ask me what color the dress was going to be. But I am not a pretty princess whatsoever, and I will not stand any sort of depictions of me as such. And I know the boozy barrister earlier had mentioned that he was going to get me a tiara, and I will not put on a tiara unless a small donation of $1 million has been made to charity. Huff. And let me see. Snazzy Fly says, I tagged Tien Long on Twitter with the picture LOL. If I go on Twitter right now, I am sure that I will see a flurry of responses that are laughing at me and my dignity which does not exist. Jerwin Dragon asks, Tien, have you made your own wine? If so, do tell us what you create. I do not create my own wine, Jer, simply because I do not have the expertise. I am a celestial dragon, and that means I am knowledgeable in many things, but creation of wine is not one of them, simply because I am an impatient creature, and crafting good wine takes patience. Any sort of wine master, any sort of brew master will tell you as such, whether it is wine, whether it is a beer, whether it is something stronger than those two, it all takes a great deal of patience and craftsmanship. I specialize in deconstructing things versus constructing them, and, well, that's why I am somewhat of a demolition specialist when it comes to large buildings. And let me see. New Stool says Princess Buttnose. Princess Buttnose? What? The nerve of you, New Stool! I will not be known as Princess Buttnose, and I refuse to be known as such. Princess Buttnose. Huh? And let me see. Dignity? What is dignity? Asks Yoshikos. Indeed, what is dignity? Dignity is the mere concept of a celestial dragon that he has any control over what people say or think of him as or draw him as. I can only hope as so much as all the youngsters are providing me with some sort of dignity in the form of drawings or tributes and whatnot, but like I said earlier, all the youngsters are always saying, oh, look at that cute dragon, look at that cute adorable noodle dragon, who's a cute adorable noodle dragon? And I go, not me, I am not a cute let us see what else is going on so far. I may actually start off with my drawings a little bit more, simply because it seems that right now the chat is a little quiet this evening. I am sure that many people right now are off enjoying their new year with some sort of celebration so far. And, well, of course, my patrons are also sort of owed their rewards as well. And for those of you that do not know, my patrons are those that support me through the Patreon platform, and they help make my show possible by making sure that I have a den to dwell in and curl up in on these cold winter evenings. So, without further ado, I believe that I should also go through my patrons quickly and make sure that my patrons are acknowledged as well. I do not want to leave out my patrons for any sort of reason. So let me quickly pull up my patron list, and I shall rattle them off as quickly as I am able. So, in order, I would like to thank my patrons in particular: Jackal the Circle, Silent Dawn, Yakisoba, Goldroxen, Trottlebear, Altorius, Silver Gatomon, Volt Ashkor, BT Werewolf, Angus L, Bo Arin, Indigo Ryu, Arabian Darkstone, Varius the Dragon, Amber Thompson, and Zragan are my patrons that are coming with me into this year of 2018. So to each and every one of you, you have my humble thanks. The show, of course, is moved along quite smoothly because of your generosity, and I hope that I can continue as such. And I see that my Twitter notifications right now are going like beep, 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 I'm a sheep and all that, and I am not daring to open it just in case I end up seeing myself as a pretty princess. And let me see what else. Bruiser Dragonia says, Tien Long is a warrior and a martial arts master, and let's leave it at that. Yes, I do thoroughly agree with you, Bruiser Dragonius. I am seen as only a master of my arts and of the skies, and nothing more than that. I am not a master at being, a noodle face, or a master of having a butt nose, or a master at being a pretty princess, or any of the above. And let me see. Yoshikos Raptoridus says, EF registration and impatient about hotel booking room succession. Well, I don't know what is happening right now with your ferns, but I can only imagine it can be described with one word. Lardin. Moving right along. And Cindy Vixen says, but you'd make a cute, pretty princess. I do not look anything remotely like a cute, pretty princess, and I have made this point several times. I have these, very devilish, very evil, very ominous-looking horns. I've got ridges and roughness and all this sort of jaggedness all around my facial features. I have eyes that spell death into all that look into them, including you right now, and I have these facial whiskers that exude regality and grace in every direction that they happen to fling in, because that's what those whiskers do. So I do not look anything like a pretty princess, not even if you put a tiara and some makeup on me. And I'm sure Boozy Barrister will try some next week in North Carolina at Ace, and if he does, well, lawyers won't get him out of that mess. And Silver Gatomon says, Tien Long, you'll probably want to give me dye for my drawing. Silver Gatomon, if your drawing request was anything like it was in New Year's Eve with that whole sitting on Boozy Barrister's lap, I am watching you now. Damn kids these days. And let me see what else is happening right now. And Monster Ownage says, so make a badass princess. Well, what would a badass princess be like, I wonder? Would a badass princess rescue themselves? That would be super meta. It's like, imagine if, say Princess Peach from Super Mario or something like that. Imagine she rescued herself because Mario was this, bum, stupid shit, good for nothing slob fixing pipes and whatnot. And she was like,